Hello everyone, and welcome back to another top 5 video. Today we're going to be going through the top 5 hardest video games. Let's go. Before we get into it, these games are the top 5 I think are the hardest. So you may think that they're easier, like they're really easy, that's cool. But personally, when I played these, they were super hard to me. And so yeah, let's just do this thing. So in the number 5 spot, we have Call of Duty Warzone. Now, you're probably thinking, Warzone, oh, it's good. You got to get good at it before. Well, I mean, if you're good at it, that's cool. But mainly my problem are sweats. When you sweats, they come into your lobby and they just completely ruin your fun of the game. Okay. Now, any sweats out there, why are you even trying to just sweat on the lobby? Go in and you think, okay, it's gonna be a good round, but then a sweat appears and he just ruins your fun. And it also makes it hard because he's so good that you cannot hurt him, or you cannot damage him in any ways. And also, uh, another big problem is cheaters and hackers. They go in and they just ruin the game, with cheats. And sure, if they share the cheats with people, but I mean that's still not fun. That's still not what the game developers intended it for it to be. And also, it's the sensitivity and stuff is so bad. It's like if you turn it up too high, then you move your mouse like a little bit to the right, and it goes around in 360. But then again, if it's too low, then you can't really play the game. It's like you move it as fast as you can, and you're just turning about like 2.5 feet per minute, and it's sad. And some cons about it is that it's repetitive. It's You go in to Warzone, you shoot, and you try and win. Uh, Basically the same thing over and over again. Now there are different game modes, but if you played every single game mode and if you've done every single thing there is to do, then it just gets repetitive over and over again, and you don't want to play it. Looks like Gerald is joining us again. Uh, uh, I guess Gerald likes feet. That's weird, but let us move on to number 4. Number 4 spot, we have Dark Souls. Dark Souls, I love the game. I did not beat it, hence why it's on this. But honestly, it's really cool for a game that came out, all those years ago. It's a really cool game, and it does take a lot of time to beat. And honestly, the bosses they're way too hard. They just you go in, they one shot you or it takes a few shots, so you gotta really be precise on your moving and stuff. And also for the gameplay for me, no matter what console I was on or what frames I ran, it was still like bugging hard. And no matter what, I couldn't play it. I couldn't really beat it. I didn't get too far, but I did defeat the first boss. It was pretty hard nonetheless. It's a good game, but it's hard, you know, and it really makes you rage. And when you rage, it like it swallows your mind in rage, so that you're blinded to pretty much every single possibility around you. Like you say, I go in, I defeat this boss, right, and then I go in, there's a bigger boss, and I lose, and I start all the way back. I'm enraged, right? So I go through, and I keep dying by the first boss that I first defeated. So if you have a clear mind and you don't rage, then perhaps there's a possibility that the hardest level on your game you can get through if you have a clear mind. Um, and the cons, it's just weird and freaking frightening and sensitive. Like, it's scary to say the least. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Like the way that the bosses look and the enemies, they're scary. They're frightening. Really, it's. I go up and there's like a dude coming behind me. I don't even know. I'm jumping out of my chair, right? And I'm like, oh my god, he just walks up behind me, and yeah, it's a scary game, but it's fun. Now in the number 3 spot we have Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 I have played. It's a very fun game. Um, I didn't get too far into it, but it's really fun. But one of the main problems is the lag. It's so, like I said, for me, no matter what console, no matter what I played it on, the Dark Souls games, like they didn't work for me. I'm not sure why, but it was still fun. even if it did lag pretty hard. And like the bosses, they and the enemies, they were like the first one really. They were so hard. Mainly the enemies I had problems with. I don't know how, but I mean I did only defeat one boss, and then I got rage and I rage quit. But it's a good game, and I guess looks like Gerald here thinks it's easy, causing to call me a noob. Well, guess what, Gerald? You're a cat. Really, it's the controls. They're so hard to master. Same with Dark Souls One. I never really mastered the Bandai Namco like controls. I mean, they're cool for a lot of people, but I go in. I'm like, oh shoot, that's that button. Oh, that's weird. They're really hard, honestly, to control. I'm not a big fan of the controls. And a con, it's very, very difficult. Oh my lord, it's so hard to do. And you go in, you're like, oh, this gonna be easy. Your first time, you're like, I don't know what they're all talking about. This game's hard. Just wait until you get into the later levels, man. It really, it really mops you. I mean, wow. Moving on. Number two, we have the world's hardest game. I remember playing this a long time ago, and I couldn't even get past the first level. But I did eventually beat it after a few hours. Yeah, that's right. I said a few hours. I kept trying and trying. I kept raging and raging. It's a good game. I like the game, but it's so hard to do. It rages you, and it's very very tedious. It's very drawn out. You have to go through all this entire level basically just to get to the next level. There's not really an incentive besides completing it and get to the next. And you have to be like very, very accurate and precise on your movements. Because if you move a little bit up, then you're dead. You move a little bit down, then you're dead. Like an enemy runs into you and you're trying to avoid them, and you misclick. You might go down and hit another enemy. You got to be very, very precise when it comes to this game. And there's a lot of levels, I'm guessing. I don't really know how many there are, but there are a lot. I've played it recently and I didn't get too far, but I got past the first two levels and that was pretty much it. I really I I tried my best, but I mean, it took so long just to get past the first one, and then the second one, it took even longer. You know, I tried. I guess I'm not that great at hard games, and it progressively gets harder as you go along, in my opinion. Like the first level, that you think that's hard, we'll just wait until you get like to the fifth level or the sixth level. It's a cool game. Perhaps the developers for having an idea like that. That's amazing, but it's very hard. And the cons for me, it was boring. You're just like this little like tiny speck thing going through like the back room levels or whatever, and you make your way and these enemies, they're coming after you, and you have to like, or like bots or whatever, and you have to like maneuver over them or behind them. I mean, it's cool. And it's a fairly old game. Came out around, I think, 2008. And it's cool, but it's old. Looks like, wait, Gerald. Gerald is into old lady. Wow. Now we're moving on to our honorable mention, Dishonored. Now, Dishonored isn't necessarily a super hard game, but it's moderately hard. Um, you go into Dishonored, and you're this guy named Corvo. Now, if you don't want spoilers for the game, I would click off now. But you're this guy named Corvo. Now, let's move on to the number one spot. And in the number one spot, we have Elden Ring. Now, Elden Ring for me is the absolute hardest, but I love it so much. The graphics are amazing. Oh my gosh. And then the story arc is pretty cool, where you can become the Elden Lord if you get the Elden Ring, and like you have to kill this lady's sons or whatever. How it goes, I don't know, but like it's an amazing game. It's an amazing game, and I really enjoyed it. But the things that really made it difficult was that it was a little bit wonky. for me, because like I said, the controls really made it wonky for me. I didn't really get to like experience the full really good playerness, if you know what I mean. Like you get in and you do really good on it. I like the controls made it wonky because I go in and I'm thinking it's like it's a little bit like Dark Souls, right? And like I said, I didn't really master Dark Souls, so their controls, like I said, they're hard to me. And then the enemies made it difficult. Really, they're so tough. Even in the first part of the game, if you look down at the bottom right hand corner of the slide here, you can see this big dude right here. Like he just shows up. He's gonna wreck your day. When I first fought him, I thought he was dead. So I go up, I walk on by him, right, and I'm like, oh dang, this thing's huge. Then he stands up. I'm already running. All right. I'm running on my horse. I'm gone out of there. All right. He would surely wreck my day. And you got to choose the right class to really get in and defeat the Elden Lord and become the Elden Lord. Because if you don't really choose the right class, then you won't get too far unless you're really really good at the game. Well, if you're really good at the game, that's awesome. I need some pointers, but yeah, for me, I need to pick a right class. I'm not really sure what class I'm really gonna go with. But first class I chose was a samurai, and it didn't really work out too well. So yeah, now onto the cons. It's a fairly long game. You have to go through. You have to defeat each one of these ladies' like sons or whatever. It's I think there's like nine of them, maybe 10 or 11. I don't know, but there's a bunch of them. You have to go through. You have to level up. You got to be very. It's very tedious, very long and outstretched. And it looks like you found his new horsey. That's good. That's good. But that does it for today's episode of Top Five. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I truly did. If you guys like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It's always free, and you can always change your mind later. That does it. Peace.